Welcome back to Old Charles. Today, we're diving deep into the world of coin collecting, exploring one of the most fascinating coins from U.S. history, the 1988 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent. We'll cover its value, history, condition, and even the rare varieties that collectors are hunting for. So, stay tuned till the end because you might just discover that the 1988 penny in your pocket could be worth much more than just 1 cent. The 1988 U.S. 1-cent coin belongs to the famous Lincoln Memorial series, which ran from 1959 until 2008. Designed by Victor David Brenner, Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse has been a constant feature since 1909, when the coin was first released to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse of the 1988 penny, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a design by Frank Gasparo. Interestingly, if you look closely, you can even spot the tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, making it one of the few U.S. coins to show the same person on both the front and the back. Now, the 1988 penny comes in two main compositions: bronze-plated zinc ***. After 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned from mostly copper to zinc with a thin copper plating. So, the 1988 penny is about 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This change was made because copper prices were rising, making it too expensive to keep pennies fully copper. In 1988, the U.S. Mint produced this coin at 3 locations: Philadelphia Mint ***, no mint mark, more than 6.9 billion coins; Denver Mint ***, D mint mark, over 5.3 billion coins; San Francisco Mint ***, S mint mark, about 3.2 million proof coins made specifically for collectors. That's a massive mintage, which is why most 1988 pennies are still only worth face value today. But, as with many coins, condition and rare errors can make a huge difference. So, how much is a 1988 penny worth today in circulated condition? The 1988 penny is usually worth just 1 cent, or maybe a few cents to a collector. In uncirculated condition, those shiny, untouched coins straight from a mint set or roll, the value jumps up. A mint state 1988 penny can be worth $1 to $10, depending on the grade. The highest graded 1988 penny can fetch much more. For example, an MS-67 red penny has sold at auction for over $500. The 1988 S-proof penny, made for collectors, usually sells for $3 to $10, depending on condition. Now here's where things get really exciting. Rare varieties and errors from 1988 that can be worth serious money. 1988 penny with 1989 reverse, RDV 006. This is a major variety where the 1988 penny was struck with the reverse design meant for the 1989 cent. It's a collector's treasure, and these can sell for hundreds of dollars, sometimes even over $2,000 in top grades. 2. Double die errors. Some 1988 pennies show doubling in the lettering, such as Liberty or In God We Trust. These double die coins are rare and highly collectible. 3. Off-center strikes. If your penny looks misaligned, with part of the design missing, it could be an error worth anywhere from $10 to $100, depending on how dramatic the strike is. 4. Clipped planchet errors. Coins that look like a small piece was clipped off during production can also bring premium value. Always check your 1988 penny carefully. That common-looking coin in your change jar could be a hidden gem. The value of any coin depends heavily on condition and grade. Collectors categorize them like this: worn down, details are flat, only worth face value; moderate wear, but details are visible, worth a few cents; light wear with sharp details, worth up to 25 cents; no wear at all, just mint luster. These are the coins that can fetch $1 to several $100s at auctions. Made for collectors, highly polished and struck with care. These usually range from $3 to $50 depending on grade. If you want to know your penny's true value, you should consider having it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC, especially if you think you've got a rare variety. So, the 1988 US 1-cent coin may seem like just a regular penny, but its history, design, and potential errors make it a fascinating piece for collectors. Most are worth just face value, but rare error varieties and high-grade coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. To understand the 1988 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent, we need to go on a journey that stretches back nearly 200 years before it was minted. The penny is the oldest continuously produced denomination in American coinage, and the 1988 version is part of a much larger story. The very first 1-cent coins were introduced in 1793, during the earliest days of the U.S. Mint. These coins were large, nearly the size of today's half-dollar, and made entirely of copper. Over the decades, designs like the flowing hair large cent, the draped bust, and later the coronet head and braided hair cents appeared. These large copper cents circulated widely but were eventually replaced in 1857 with the smaller 1-cent coin that Americans are more familiar with today. That change made cents easier to carry, and USD by the mid-19th century, the famous Indian head cent was introduced in 1859. This design by James Barton Longacre became a staple of U.S. coinage for 50 years. But in the early 20th century, a new idea emerged. Instead of symbolic figures, why not honor a real person who shaped the nation's history? That's where Abraham Lincoln comes in. In 1909, the nation was preparing to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. President Theodore Roosevelt, who was passionate about improving the artistic quality of U.S. coins, supported the idea of placing Lincoln's image on the cent. This was a bold decision. Until then, no real person had ever appeared on a circulating American coin. The task of designing this new cent was given to Victor David Brenner, an immigrant from Lithuania who had studied art and engraving. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln was based on a photograph by Matthew Brady, one of the most iconic images of the 16th president. The obverse, with Lincoln's dignified profile, instantly captured the American public's admiration. A reverse, Brenner originally placed 2 wheat ears, symbolizing agriculture and prosperity. These became the famous Wheat Pennies, minted from 1909 to 1958. Collectors today still treasure these coins, and they remain some of the most collected pennies in U.S. history. But in 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and the 50th anniversary of the Lincoln cent, the reverse design was changed. Out went the wheat ears, and in came the Lincoln Memorial ***, designed by Frank Gasparo, who would later become chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. This design wasn't just symbolic, it was unique. If you looked closely at the memorial, you could see a tiny engraving of Lincoln's statue inside, making this the first coin in U.S. history to depict the same person on both sides. From 1959 through 2008, the Lincoln Memorial Cent became one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in the United States. And the 1988 issue is part of that long-running series. But the 1988 penny also reflects another major historical change: the shift in metal composition. Originally, Lincoln cents were made of solid copper. But as the cost of copper rose in the 1970s, the mint faced a problem. It was becoming more expensive to produce a penny than the coin was actually worth. To fix this, in 1982, the mint changed the composition from 95% copper to a cheaper mix of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. By 1988, all pennies were being struck in this modern form, which continues today. Production of the 1988 penny was massive, showing just how important the cent remained in daily life. Billions were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, and a small number of proof coins were made at the San Francisco Mint for collectors. But history has a way of leaving surprises. In 1989, the Mint made subtle changes to the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial Cent. Some 1988 dies accidentally used the updated reverse intended for the following year. This created one of the most fascinating and valuable varieties in penny collecting, the 1988 penny with 1989 reverse, RDV 006. What began as a minor design adjustment became a historical error that today is worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars to collectors. So when you look at a 1988 penny, you're not just looking at a coin from the 1980s. You're seeing the legacy of over 190 years of American coinage, from the oversized coppers of the 1790s, to Brenner's immortal portrait of Lincoln in 1909, to Gasparo's symbolic memorial design in 1959, and finally to the transitional years of the 1980s, when America's smallest coin faced big changes in its composition and design. The 1988 penny is a living piece of this story, a snapshot of tradition, history, and even a few minting mistakes that turned into treasures. When it comes to the value of the 1988 Lincoln Memorial Cent, one of the most important factors is condition. 2 pennies from the same year can be worth very different amounts depending on how well they have survived over the decades. Let's break this down step by step. Using the standard grading scale collectors rely on, the very bottom of the grading scale are coins so worn that they're barely recognizable. A 1988 penny in poor condition may have Lincoln's portrait almost flattened out, with the date difficult to read. These coins generally have no collector value and are worth only face value. Here, the outline of Lincoln is visible, but all fine details are gone. The words, Liberty, and In God We Trust may be faint, and the reverse memorial is mostly flat. Still only worth 1 cent. In good condition, Lincoln is more defined, but all small details like his hair and coat are worn down. The lettering is readable but flat. These are the kinds of pennies you still see in pocket change today. Value, just 1 cent. In this grade, Lincoln's portrait is clear, and while the high points of his face are worn, the coin has more overall definition. On the reverse, the memorial structure is visible, though fine lines are weak. Still only a few cents in value. A coin in fine condition has moderate wear. Lincoln's jawline, hair curls, and coat may be partially visible. The memorial columns can be distinguished, but details are soft. Collectors might pay 2 to 5 cents for a 1988 penny in this grade. Here, the coin shows light to moderate wear. Lincoln's hair details are partially visible, and the cheek and jawline are more defined. On the reverse, the lines of the memorial steps can be seen. At this level, the value might range from 5 to 10 cents. Coins in this grade still have sharp details with only light wear on the highest points, like Lincoln's cheekbone and jaw. The memorial's lines and statue are more noticeable. A 1988 penny in XF condition might be worth 10 to 25 cents. These coins have very minimal wear, often just a trace on the highest points of the design. They still retain most of their original mint luster. Collectors prize these, and their value rises to around 25 cents to $1 depending on eye appeal. Once we reach mint state, the coin has never been in circulation. It shows no signs of wear, though it may have bag marks or contact scratches from the minting process. Unattractive luster or many marks, but no wear. Value, about $1, $2. Sharper luster and fewer marks. Value $2, $5, very eye-catching coins with minimal marks. These often sell for $10, $30, stunning coins with blazing red luster, nearly flawless surfaces. These are very rare for 1988 and can fetch $200, $500 or more at auction. Practically perfect coins. MS-70 is almost never seen for this year, and if discovered, it would be worth thousands. For copper-plated cents like the 1988 penny, collectors also look at color. Mostly toned brown, lower value. A mix of original red luster and brown. Full mint red color, the most desirable and valuable. A 1988 cent graded MS67RD is a true collector's prize. Finally, let's not forget the proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof pennies are made using special polished dies and struck multiple times to bring out incredible detail and a mirror-like finish. Proof coins with some spots or haze, worth $2, $4. Beautiful coins with sharp detail, valued at $5, $10, virtually flawless proofs with frosted devices and mirror fields. These can sell for $30, $50 or more depending on demand, so as you can see, the condition of a 1988 penny makes all the difference. Most circulated coins are only worth a cent or two, but high-grade uncirculated or proof examples can sell for many dollars. And if you happen to find a rare error or the famous 1988 with 1989 reverse variety in top condition, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands. That's why serious collectors pay close attention to grading. It's not just about age, it's about how well the coin has survived, its eye appeal, and whether it has kept its original mint luster.